God, I don't know if I can even answer it anymore. What is outsider art? Basically, outsider art is... No, I can't start again.
What is outsider art? I don't know, you got me. I've been trying to figure that out. I've certainly been called worse things in my life than an outsider artist.
Is that somebody that's working outside, you know, that doesn't mind if it rains or something and they'll draw outside? That's what I would have said, you know. In fact, I was a bit of an outsider artist. I was over on a bench over in Hyde Park, laying low from the cops at night, doing drawings and such.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, do you feel like an outsider?
Well, I suppose so, but I mean, what does an outsider, what does an insider feel like?
What you say the name?
Outsider art.
Outsider? I don't know. Maybe it's for different planet represent for me. Outsider.
But whatever you call it, when you see it, you know it. You know, you're looking for things that make you go, oh my God. And that's outsider art.
Once upon a time, in the Italian countryside, not far from Venice, there lived a young boy named Carlo Zinelli. Carlo's mother died when he was very young, and he was taken out of school to go and work in the fields, tending to his father's cattle. When he grew into a young man, he joined the army and was sent off to fight in a terrible war. But he returned after just 2 months, and anyone who knew Carlo could tell that something was very wrong with him. He behaved strangely and refused to utter a single word. They tried to cure him with electricity, but that didn't work, and so he was sent away to an asylum with high walls and locks on the doors, and there he would stay, hidden from the world. One day, Carlo picked up a stone from the ground and began to draw on the walls. The nurses stopped him immediately, but Carlo couldn't stop. He wanted to draw everywhere, on anything. After a while, the doctors realized it kept him quiet, and so they gave him some broken old pencils and left him to it. Then one day, a Scottish artist called Michael Noble arrived. He was married to a rich Italian contessa and had come to the hospital to cure his fondness for whiskey. He saw what Carlo was doing with primitive equipment and was outraged. This man is an artist. You must let him create. And so, with the Contessa's money, Michael Noble created a studio inside the asylum with good brushes and plenty of paint. Carlo Zinelli may have been unable to talk, but something else poured out of him. The floodgates opened. Carlo spent 8 hours painting every day, completely engrossed in his work. By the time he died, he had made nearly 2,000 paintings. These works were once dismissed as the scrawlings of a lunatic. Now, Carlo Zinelli's work is on show 70 miles from the asylum, at the biggest and most prestigious event in the art calendar. It's early summer, and the Venice Biennale is just beginning. This festival is a barometer for the contemporary art world. It reflects current trends, and this year, so-called outsider artists like Carlo Zanelli are the hot topic.
And Carlo became very prolific, and he started doing more and more work. His psychiatrist then took his art to see Jean de Buffet and André Breton.
Carlo's work is here in Venice thanks to this man, the director of the Museum of Everything.
The crosses there upside down must be the graves of the soldiers, and that star is the star of the Alpini soldiers, which he was conscripted into.
And you see that star everywhere?
Everywhere. I think there are all kinds of riddles hidden in there, but I think they're just for him. From what I know, he didn't care. The minute he finished one, he sort of threw it away. And the nurses and doctors would grab them up, and quite a lot of them would make their way into their homes.
But what happened to this work in the interim?
Generally speaking, Carlo's been curated by and for, let's say, the outsider art brut audience. And that's why it stayed this sort of secret, I guess.
Well, that secret is now well and truly out. The keynote exhibition here is the encyclopedic palace, where self-taught artists rub shoulders with big names from the contemporary art world. Have a look at these. They were made by a 38-year-old man with absolutely no artistic training. This man saw visions and heard voices. In private, he induced hallucinations and then recorded everything in small journals, a process he kept up for 16 years. That man was Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of modern psychology. Is he an outsider artist?
I don't like to distinguish between insiders and outsiders, and that's what this exhibition is about. I've learned, particularly from artists, that artists are curious about any visual manifestations, and so I wanted to make a show for artists and for the public in which the distinctions between the professional and the self-taught are blurred.
What this Biennale does is disrupt the story of art, as most of us know it. It brings us back to the most basic questions about the power and the purpose of art.
Well, what if there's this inborn urge to be an artist? Inborn in these guys who had no chance. The thing that I think we look for in art is a kind of urgency, like the artist could not help but do it. And what we have in contemporary art right now is a lot of calculation, where the artist could... There's no sense of that urgency or necessity.
It's fantastic to see here all these artists who were always marginalized until now, and they're together with artists, and this is where they belong, obviously.
And, by the way, excuse me, Caravaggio was homeless, incarcerated, and insane. And 90% of the artists I've ever met are kind of a little insane, so boom.
I just have to say, I've never seen a Venice Biennale as strong as this one. I mean, for me, it's really, I think this is a turn in history. I mean, it's a rupture. It's really very important.
Some of the best work in Venice is by an outsider artist called Shinichi Sawada. The young man who made these strange and wonderful creatures works in almost total isolation at the top of a mountain in the backwoods of Japan.
ほとんど本人はですね、言葉がありませんのでね、こちらもその言葉で相手を知ろうとしてもこれは当然無理だということで、お互いのその動きですか、表情ですね、表情でお互いに感じ取ると、それしかないですね今。はい、だから毎日ですね、一緒にこうしてですね、付き合いをお互いに付き合いしていませんとね、ということなんですね。実のところそれが分かればですねいいんですけど、私自身も一緒にいててまだまだ分かりませんですね。ただあれが出てきたというのはこちらが教えたわけでも何でもないんですけれども、
Sawada's magical and monstrous creatures seem to be the fruits of a personal mythology.
Kaiju.
His work has been shown in Venice, London, Paris, Amsterdam, an exhibition record that would be the envy of any goldsmith's graduate his age. But unlike those graduates, Sawada isn't engaged with the art world, the merry-go-round of dealers, openings and endless networking. His autism means he is unable to engage with it. Why does he make these things? It's not for profit, certainly not for fame. Where does this urge to create come from?
Like your
Japanese society expects everyone to play a productive role, whatever condition they may have. Akane Kimura makes 0.8 of a yen, that's half a pence, for every sponge she puts in a plastic envelope. In the afternoon, she draws. And those pictures have been exhibited in museums across the world.
下駄箱入れたら入れようか。下駄箱入れたら下駄箱入れたらどうなの？下駄箱入れたらか。
絵を描いた後に興味がなくなっているということは、描いている瞬間をすごく楽しんでいるっていうことだと思うんですよ。でも描き上がった後それがこう人に認められているとか、それに価値がついたとか、そういうこと自体には多分ご本人さんは興味がないんじゃないかなと思います。
This is Nobuji Higa. One day, he was given a book of coffee table erotica. But he transforms those photographs into something altogether different.
ちょっとはだけどなんか評価もちょっとはありましたけど評価もなんか良かった良い評価もあった。なんか女性のあれ結構不なんでなんか女性なんか結構なんか言われるかなと思ったんでだからいやこういうことも批判があるかなと思ってどうもなんか良かった。
It was in the 1940s that a French artist called Jean Dubuffet first brought self-taught art out of the asylums and into the galleries. Dubuffet christened it Art Brut, a legacy of his days in the wine trade, where brut means raw or unsugared. He was interested in the lack of sophistication of the work, which he saw as its purity. For him, a spontaneous outpouring from the wellspring of creativity was the mark of true art.
Cet art-là me paraît à moi le grand art et le seul art véritablement authentique, véritablement créatif. Ce que j'ai recherché moi, ce sont des formes d'art étrangères à la culture et délibérément étrangères à la culture.
Dubuffet toured asylums in Central Europe, hoovering up work and creating an alternative canon of art brut. He discovered people like Aloise Korbaz, a Swiss governess whose imagined affair with Kaiser Wilhelm II led to an erotic outpouring of drawings, collage and murals. Or Adolf Wölfli, a schizophrenic goatherd and labourer who produced over 25,000 pages of drawings, literature and music in his own invented notation, all of which he signed St. Adolf II. Dubuffet often had problems finding art because the hospitals rarely archived it. The psychiatric world didn't fully appreciate the value of what their patients were making. But times have changed. Here in the forest north of Vienna lies the Art Brut Center, Gugging. Gugging is famous for its house of artists, home to 14 psychiatric patients who've been plucked from the Austrian system, thanks to their artistic talent. Unlike the day centres of Japan, these artists live here full-time. There is no obligation for them to make art, but still, it pours out of them. So you brought the outsiders inside, and how has the art world responded then to that?
In the 80s, it was very difficult, because on one hand, the world of psychiatry didn't understand it. And on the other hand, the art world saw this experiment. It was not really presented as art, you know? So what I wanted to show is that also single pieces of art of every good Brut artist has the same worth as any other piece, single piece of any other kind of art. If you buy a Van Gogh, you have to pay $200 million. And then the illness doesn't play any role.
So it's the art that's important, is what you're saying. And let's not focus on the case studies. But how do you look after the artist then?
One thing is the private life of an artist, and the other thing is his professional life as an artist. So, on the one hand, we supported the artists in their private needs, with illness or whatever, And on the other side, we managed more or less their art. We organized exhibitions, we made publications, and we selected their works because they themselves couldn't select so much. It's the same work as any gallerist works with his artist, wherever.